This is Mike Loveday from StudentSportsLacrosse.com, and I'm talking to Jack Pezzulla, a sophomore goalie from Boys Latin in Baltimore, Maryland. Most people know who Boys Latin is at this point in time. And he recently made a verbal commitment to the University of North Carolina in Chapel Hill, and he's going to kind of take us a little bit through that process and how he ultimately arrived at UNC. But so, Jack, first off, talk a little bit about who were your Final Four schools going into this process for you.
Well, my final four were Duke, Maryland, Ohio State, and North Carolina. I kind of eliminated that down after receiving multiple questionnaires and doing a few visits. And they were really, all of them were great colleges. And I'm blessed to have this experience of being recruited to these top D1 schools and living the dream of playing lacrosse in college, as I'm sure every kid wants to do.
Yeah. Once you narrowed it down to your Final Four schools, what did you how did you go from there?
Um, well, I started calling coaches after I received questionnaires, and I wanted to pursue the colleges that I felt fit for me. And so I pursued, as I said before, North Carolina, Maryland, Duke, and Ohio State. And I went visits to all of those schools because I mean, what is there? There's nothing to go. There's nothing to go wrong from that. And I loved it. It was great, and it really brought out what I liked in a school, and that is really what truly brought me to North Carolina.
Yeah. Now you said North Carolina along with Maryland were the two schools that you visited twice. What was it about those two schools that kind of I guess ultimately made your final two?
Uh, well, starting off with Maryland, I liked Maryland because I knew a few BL guys from there. It felt familiar to me, and it just the idea of playing for my state was a great it was a very great thing to hear about, and running out behind the flag, and it felt good. I mean, it felt good being around Coach Tillman. He was a great guy, and he carried me through the process great as well. And transferring on to North Carolina, Coach Bresci took me in as like one of his own right off the bat, and that was really heartwarming and brought me closer to North Carolina, ultimately leading to my decision.
Yeah. So we talked about a little bit about in the pre-interview about the differences, like kind of things you were looking for in a college, and you mentioned Ohio State being a very large college, Duke being a very much on the smaller end of the school. So the Carolina kind of meld the best of both worlds for you with that.
Yeah, I mean the student life at Carolina is incredible. The kids are great, and everybody there is awesome. Ohio State, not to get me wrong or anything, it's huge. I mean, I feel like I would be a little drowned with all the kids there. And at Duke, it's a little small, so I feel like by the time I finished, I would know everybody. I mean, but in North Carolina, I feel like I would meet new people every day, but still, I wouldn't feel like I'm one in a million.
Right. Okay. And obviously, we kind of mentioned obviously you're a sophomore, and you've probably only been about a sophomore for about a month now. So,
Oh, yeah.
but so for you, especially with Boys Latin and the guys they got on the team, a lot of talent. So you probably haven't seen much time on the varsity, especially in the starting role. So talk a little bit about you play with the Baltimore Breakers. Talk a little bit about this summer and how you felt it was important in your recruiting process.
Well, the summer is huge for recruiting. You at the beginning, what me and my dad did is we laid out schools that I would be interested in, and just schools that I could take a shot at, and sent out an email to all of them, telling them which tournaments I'm going to be at and camps, and then we went from there. We received questionnaires through camps and tournaments, and my coach JJ Pearl did a great job of forwarding these requests from college coaches, and so did my Coach Shriver. He did a great job too, and both of them really led to my commitment to North Carolina. They brought me there, and I would just say to anybody who's like looking to get recruited and looking to do anything like that with colleges, really have a good person to be the middleman between that, because that's what really will bring you to the school. And I would like to thank both of them because they really helped me out a lot. And one more person who really helped is John Stahl, who used to play lacrosse at Carolina. He knows Coach Bresci very well, and he really got me in touch with Coach Bresci and did the itineraries and sent stuff back and forth with him, and he was a huge help as well.
I want to talk a little bit about the some of the honors you made from over the summer. One of them, obviously they're all pretty cool. You made the All Star, the 2016 All Star team at the King of the Hill tournament, which must have been a pretty high honor. But you also one of the new events. You were part of that inaugural class with Nike's The Ride event. Talk a little bit about that because obviously it was a new event. Obviously
Mhm.
going into it, not no one really knew anything about it. So what was that like?
Well, getting there, everybody was kind of freaked out because they didn't know what was going on. I mean, Nike did a really great job of keeping it hidden from everybody. And when we got there, we were surprised. That felt like a celebrity because they treated us like one, and Nike did a really great job of just providing us with all the resources we needed through that weekend. And the lacrosse there was fantastic. I mean, we have some of the top commits out there in all of the classes, 2016 through 2014, and it was actually fantastic. I mean, one of the best camp experiences I've ever been to, next to Jake Reed's.
Yeah. So when you're going through this recruiting process, do any of the college coaches kind of let you know, like, what if there was a particular event that you stood out with for them? Like, was there anything that you learned on on that part of it?
Yeah, and that was a question I asked a lot to them. At a Crab Feast actually was one of the huge ones that I got a lot of looks at. I mean, because I had a game of my one of the games of my life there, and that really brought the attention to them, and it was at BL too, which kind of brought the home territory factor into it. And also Jake Reed's is a huge one too. I mean, 90% of the people who go to Jake Reed's commit D1. And I mean, it really stands out because I felt that presence after I left Jake Reed's, and it was great. I mean, great camp if you can get invited.